Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar today. We've got a series of fantastic speakers, which I'm going to be introducing and handing over to you very soon. But introduce myself first. So my name is Michael Edwards, and I'm from the Northern Affinity. I'm hosting this session today, and what we're doing today is kind of an example of what we do at the Northern Affinity. Actually, is bring together a number of our partners to collaborate, to communicate with other people as well. So it's very much a demonstration of what we do. So I'll be hosting the session. If you've got any questions as we go through, you probably can see at the bottom, you've got a Q&A box, and you've also got a chat box as well. So if you do have any questions, whether it's for everybody or for specifically any one individual speaker, please do put them in there, and we'll get them asked and answered at various points. A lot of the big focus of today is going to be around real life examples as well. So it's not just going to be the kind of theory behind things, examples of what the work that the speakers have done in their area and kind of demonstrating that. So we'll be going through that in a second. As with all these things, this webinar will be recorded. It'll be available on our YouTube channel this afternoon probably. So if you want to watch back and see that, that's going to be there. We felt that this webinar was very needed because I think what's happened in the last 18 months has really accelerated a trend around the fractional or the part-time model. It's kind of been coming for years probably now, but definitely last 18 months, like many other things, has really accelerated it. Probably for many of you probably can see me here. I'm sat working from home. I have a child just to my left who might run in at any point, but we've all experienced that. And this is where the fractional model kind of sits with that changing the way we are working in life, and then the guys will go through that, I'm sure, in a minute. So before we start with the speakers, I just want to do a quick poll, which I'm just going to launch now, asking you about what services or roles should I say, have you seen working well under the fractional model? So we've listed a few there might be some other ones, but please just take the time to just quickly click on the poll, and we'll go from there. Well, a mix is what we're looking at here, so which is great. So you could choose as many different examples as you want, guys, as well, not just restricted to one. And obviously this is a relatively small sample size, but I guess what this shows is that there's all sorts of different areas and ways it's worked. So that's fantastic to see. We're going to do a poll at the end as well, which is a slight twist on this one, but a similar type of question. So we'll leave that poll up for a minute or two and give everyone a chance to do that. But we'll have a look at the results at the end. So that's it from me in terms of introducing the session. I'm going to hand it over now to your first speaker, which is Nick from Rhythm Solutions. So Nick, I'll let you explain who you are and what you do, and enjoy, everybody.
Nice one. Thanks very much, Mike, and good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us. So my name's Nick Websdell. I've spent my entire career, actually, which is up till about a year ago, which is 25 years at the Co-op, and through that, gained loads of experience of all sorts of central management disciplines, loads of situations and scenarios, and pretty difficult situations, some of them, in fact. And you may recall that the Crystal Methodist, the chairman of the Co-op Bank, that was quite a challenging situation, a chairman of an ethical bank doing things he really shouldn't have been doing. But I was part of that, the crisis management team, trying to deal with that, which was experience, definitely developmental, but not necessarily something I'd like to relive. But through my 25 years, had all sorts of experiences across implementing and defining and implementing strategies, cost reduction programs, building teams, and lots of things that I can now take out, having set up Rhythm Solutions in January with a long-standing friend and colleague, looking to take that experience out to a whole range of organisations. And our preferred way of working is fractional. I'm a real champion and advocate of fractional working. I want to work across a portfolio of clients, and I get lots of satisfaction of doing so. I think I can add value in that way. So I'm delighted to be able to talk this morning about the model and how across the various speakers here we're making it work. So I'll talk a bit about the model first of all, and then, as Mike says, get into certainly the more interesting stuff about real life examples about where some of us are making this work with clients. So by way of context, so the pandemic obviously has significantly changed the way people work. So, 2 years ago, the idea that most people in most businesses would be working from home is ridiculous. It couldn't happen, impossible. But it happened, and it's worked really well, actually. And people have just made that work. We're not going back. We are not going to go back to those patterns of working we saw 2 years ago. There's no doubt about that. And there's been a real interesting mix of response, actually, from businesses and a mix of preferences from employees. So those businesses telling employees they could work wherever they want to, through to those businesses encouraging or insisting that employees come in for 2, 3, 4, even 5 days a week. And then actually the reaction from employees is really interesting. From some of those who are used to no commute and will strongly resist the idea of going back into an office for any proportion of time. And in fact, I'm reading more and more about employees who are talking about they will shift jobs if their employer makes them come back into an office for any period of time. Actually, but through to those people who have really missed the social interaction and buzz of being in an office. So there's a real mix of approaches and preferences, and so it'd be really interesting to see how this lands and develops over the coming months and years. So the relevance of all that to what we're talking about this morning is that increased flexibility in working, I think, is leading directly to businesses thinking differently about how they resource, how they bring in the key skills and capabilities they need to run, to grow, to develop their businesses. And all businesses need to cover broadly the same disciplines, be it technology or sales, marketing, risk, operations. But it's also true, isn't it, that no two businesses are the same. So it follows that they won't have the same requirements for resource type or amount. And I think, so whilst it's definitely true that outsourcing and employing people on a part-time basis isn't new, this increase in flexibility is really driving some momentum behind the fractional model. And fractional, for these purposes, is less than full-time, usually a lot less than full-time. And we're talking about strategic roles, about the opportunity for businesses to bring people with experience and expertise in to help guide and develop and drive things forward. And to my mind, a business building flexibility into resourcing, it's a great way for that business to cope with the inevitable challenges and also to take advantage of opportunities. That I think that flexibility puts them in a really, really strong position. So, but that said, this won't be right for every role in every business. There's no question about that. This isn't about populating businesses purely with people working, 1 or 2 days a week. But that said, there are some really significant benefits to be had here. And I'll just offer 4 that I think are interesting and relevant. And then perhaps I'll ask other speakers if they've got anything to add. So fractional resourcing is cost effective. It's, the idea that a business can buy what they need and don't cop for the add-ons and overheads of employing people via the payroll. I think that's really important, and that cost is easy to control and easy to see. It's incredibly flexible, increase or reduce that level of resource, type of resource as you wish, and as requirements change. And let's be honest, it's much easier to end a relationship with a provider than it is to make an employee and an individual redundant. So flexibility and cost effectiveness are two key benefits. I think this model also enables and provides access to a level of expertise and experience that businesses otherwise, smaller businesses otherwise, wouldn't be able to get. Probably mainly because of financial reasons, that they simply couldn't bring people in full time and probably don't need that. But to get why wouldn't these smaller businesses have access to the same level of capability, experience, and talent that the bigger businesses? So I think this is a way of those businesses getting in and tapping into those people. And finally, from this section for me, it's an opportunity to bring in independence, people who work outside the bubble of your business, to bring fresh perspectives, people who are experienced usually and therefore more prepared to challenge and actually less likely to say something's great when frankly it isn't. They don't have the same reasons to hold back. So therefore kind of benefits as I see them to the fractional model. I'd just like to open out to other members of the panel. Is there anything else? Would you like to challenge anything I've said, or from your experience, anything you think I've missed around the main benefits?
No, I think you've covered them Mostly. I think for me, what we've found, certainly in technology, is that by providing a CTO or Chief Technology Officer, we're not just providing one person's point of view. Technology is very subjective and wide reaching. So when we go in as a CTO, we actually discuss all of the options for the client between the group of us, and we provide the best option rather than just me. If it was just me, I might think that Microsoft is the best thing under the sun, but that might not be right for that client. So it's not just one person you're buying, you're also buying a collective. So that real collective, hundreds of years of experience as opposed to 15, 20 years of experience. So that's probably all I would add.
I'm just impressed that you've just said Microsoft, you might recommend.
To add to that as well, you know, I think people that are able to support in this way are very capable of seeing the bigger picture for those organisations that they do support. So whilst we will be honest and we can see things that others within the business won't pick up on as easily, we can also see a far wider, bigger picture and take that step back as well and take the business with us in seeing that, to sort of open their eyes as well and build up their trust and confidence in this type of approach.
Yeah, great. And I think that Tony Sellers has just commented about that. Yeah, fresh perspective. We're not embroiled in the day to day. Yeah, agreed. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Anna. Any other comments from any of you? Good stuff. All right, thanks for that. We'll move on. So I think just as I kind of close on the kind of generic model stuff, really, I think that I wonder if the sweet spot for fractional resourcing is those smaller businesses who don't have a full-time need and probably can't afford, you know, experienced people in any number of the senior roles you'd ordinarily see on the structure chart of a larger business, you know, and for purposes of be that sales director, marketing director, chief technology officer, director of operations, those kind of roles. And I think the opportunity for those businesses who, as they seek to grow and develop, or in fact they just need some guidance and support, to tap into people who have been there and done it. You know, and it got the grey hair to prove it. In fact, only my case on the. Oh no, maybe Tony. Yeah, sorry. Those two. Why wouldn't those businesses access people who have been there and done it and have been in those kind of roles? I think that's kind of that to me feels though it's potentially the sweet spot. So enough generic stuff. Let's get into the more interesting stuff. Looking at some examples. So this model is well established, for example, on a finance. So it's not unusual to see fractional or portfolio finance directors in any range of businesses. But as the speakers will demonstrate today, this absolutely works across a whole range of disciplines and services. And in fact, Edwin, I noticed in the comments, talks about it works in data and analytics, and absolutely it does. But for the purposes of today, so we have marketing, sales, technology, and in my case, business management. So the central stuff that helps the business get clear on direction. And then helps get that business running smoothly. And risk management, helping a business understand the key things that could go wrong and then putting appropriate measures in place. So I think increasingly this model works across a whole range of disciplines. So if I may, I'll offer the first example and then hand over to the guys to bring more colour to this. So I'm currently working with a fantastic multi-academy trust. Great exec team, fantastic organisation. I love working with them. They run 6 schools at the moment and they want to grow. And I was introduced to help them work through that growth aspiration. So yeah, to answer the first question, should they grow or not? So we answered that pretty quickly. The pros significantly outweigh the cons. And on the back of that, to develop their target size and shape and a robust plan to help them deliver that growth safely. So the usual post-it sessions and structured conversations, we landed on what we thought was the right position. The board agreed. So on the back of board approval, the chief exec asked me to support the bigger trust to help them put the operating model in place, to help them create the management routine so they're ready to run a bigger organisation. So we agreed that I'd work with them for a day a week. And I'm doing that now to the end of this year and probably beyond. And it's helping, it's bringing in experience of that they don't have within the team. That's what I'm complimenting. So I'm in no way going to try and advise them on how to educate children, but I can bring in experience around implementing operating models and developing a risk management approach and those kind of things. So a day a week is exactly the right amount of time. Actually, I'm supporting the chief exec and individual members of the executive team to help move particular things forward. And I've, over the last 4 months, I've become part of the team. I'm not involved in the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, but I'm supporting and challenging and guiding on the right things, and it's just working really well. So that's my example of fractional working in action. And the other side is I love it. It's a fantastic way to add value and bring my experience through. So I'll shut up now and hand over to Tony, and Tony who will bring to life Sales Geek and how he and the team help bring value to his clients. You, Tony.
Thanks, Nick. So just to give you a bit of an overview of what Sales Geek do. So we do two things really well. So part of our business is about sales training. So it's about lifting every small business across the UK's and internationally now skill levels in sales so that we can actually change the way that the world perceives sales. The other service that we deliver is Your Sales Director, which is a part-time sales director function. And we do anything from half a day a month to 4 days a month on generally for our clients. And we're there to be their sales director and help them drive sales, increase revenues, and all of those good things. So kind of joining into what Nick was saying earlier on, I think there's three key bits that makes it beneficial to my customers. So in the initial bit, it's about getting up to speed fast. So you go and hire a normal sales director, you've got to induct them. They've got to go around the business and have a chat to everyone. You've got to onboard them. They've got to sit through their probation, go through all that probation. They don't want to say anything too scary. They want to play the line so that they make sure that they've got a job at the end of the 3 months. For the part-time sales director function, it's our objective to make an impact really, really quickly. So it's about getting up to speed fast. So it's a day of getting up to speed. We have to deliver results quickly. We are on a 30-day contract. So basically, if we're not delivering, if sales aren't increasing, if we're not delivering the results for the business, our contract with that client ends. And the other third bit is our objective is to actually do ourselves out of a job. So we can take on a role where we're doing four days a month. I've got that going for a client at the moment, but we've actually got the job offers out to my replacement and my contract's going to end there. So our objective is to do ourselves out of a job. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my customers is called VideoSign, and they're a software-based company. So they're a startup. And what I did at the original engagement, I was doing 2.5 days a month. We did the business plan, we did the sales plan. We actually did that first run at actually bringing on board customers for them. So I actually led myself and their CEO and their tech team, we actually brought together all of their, and made that startup work. We've then gone through that whole investment piece and making sure that they've got funding. We've then hired a full-time sales and marketing manager who's now actually running that team. And I'm there purely on an advisory basis. I'm doing a day a month for them, making sure that we're still driving towards those sales. So it's quite a simple framework, but part of the things that we offer during that journey depend on what the customer's needs are. So whether it's actually we need more leads, actually we've got loads of leads and we're not closing enough opportunities. It depends what that pinch point is. And what I'm finding more and more is that then we normally hit a stumbling block. So there's normally a quick fix of some sort. Yeah, let's raise the profile of the sales team. Let's start doing great webinars like we're doing today. Those things so you can start connecting to your customers. But then it's where actually it's not just my skill set we need. We actually need other people's skill sets. I can pretend to be a marketer, but I'm nowhere as pretty as Hannah or as good at her at actually delivering all of that marketing stuff. Likewise, I get stuck in technology. Everyone's got an opinion on how technology works, and you need to bring in people like David to actually start steering the bus for us. So I'll give you another example of one of my clients, and then we'll bring David in to explain how his role also helps me grow business for my clients. So one of my clients has got a horrible CRM system. It's really horrible. He's got a website that doesn't talk to anything, that we're trying to upgrade and change. It is a pig. And then they've also got this monstrous, horrible finance/ERP system. So we've got these three lumps of stuff. None of them are talking to each other. And basically the salespeople are double keen to get a job in there and actually get that through their engine room. And I'm kind of going like, well, it's rubbish. And the customer goes, right, brilliant, it's rubbish, but what are you going to do about it? And I go, I haven't got a clue. And that's where we need this whole fractional model. It's kind of like, my hands up, Mr. Customer, I can't help you there. And I go and pass the horrible, dirty rugby ball across to David, and he picks it up and hopefully goes and sort of scores a try with it. So given that, David, how would you pick up an assist?
Yeah, thanks, Tony, for that dirty rugby ball. I'm very appreciative of it in a white shirt. No, I think so. For me, the chief technology officer is really, I mean, it could be called many different things, and in different organizations, it could form different roles. I think what we always tend to do is we go in and we say, okay, what are your real pain points, and how can we help? I'm going to circle back to Tony's example, but I want to just give my own personal experience. So we started our business in March last year, about a week before this small thing called COVID hit the world. So it's been an interesting time, but I'm, without being sounding too big-headed, because that's terrible, I'm very good at my job. But I also recognize my limits. So of the people on this panel, I actually employed Tony and worked with Anna already on my own business, because I know what I'm not good at. And I think what fractional service allows us to do is focus on the things that we are good at, focus on the elements of our business and why we got into business in the first place. Was because we're passionate about something. I'm passionate about technology. It's something that just makes sense to me. I love it. I get very just involved in everything to do with it. So that's what I'm good at. Sales, I'm terrible at. I am absolutely terrible at. And marketing and advertising is something I'm also very terrible at. And to be honest, I might also be giving Nick a call after this meeting to discuss some other operational issues. So it's about focusing on your business and then bringing in the expertise that you don't have but can't necessarily afford on a full-time basis. And that's what I really love about this kind of fractional thing. We get to work with so many different businesses, and every time I turn up to a client, the questions that they'll ask me, although some are fairly generic, they're all very tailored to that business, and it can be completely different from a day-to-day basis. And that's what I really love about it. So taking Tony's example, we've gone into lots of businesses in situations that Tony described, where they've got lots of different systems. Some of them might be manual, some of them might be systems that they bought off the shelf, some of them might be one that a random programmer created 20 years ago, but it's still going because no one knows how to change it or what to change. So we look at the whole technology package. It's not just, okay, have you got your website up? Can you sell through the website? It's okay, so how is technology being harnessed to enhance your business goals? Because we're very business focused. It's all about, at the end of the day, how can technology enhance your business offering, your business efficiency, and your business effectively, and ultimately your bottom line, because every business is in business to make money. So we look at things like, okay, what are the processes you have in place? Do you have systems in place to capture the CRM data? When you've captured it, what are you actually doing there? doing with that data. So it's also about making the data that you have work for you. I'll give you an example of another client we worked with. They have over 200 external suppliers, all using different systems and all sending different stock valuations and stock levels and requiring information from the client. The client used over, I think it was over 900, I know that seems like a big number, but 900 different systems. And a lot of them were just really, really small niche packages that had been created by someone, either an Excel macro. I mean, how many of us have worked in businesses where someone 15 years ago created an Excel macro and no one dares touch it because we might break it and no one knows how to fix it? But that's so common among businesses. So what we look at is actually, okay, so how can we take a higher level strategic view and bring all this information together? The company that I was working with is I think it's somewhere around 50-60 million pound turnover company, and they had no idea of what their stock levels were, how much margin they were making, what sales they were actually generating, because each department reported figures differently from a different system. And all we did, and I say all we did, but one of the things that we did was actually centralize that data so that the senior management could have all of the information to make strategic decisions for their business, rather than trying to piece information together. I mean, there's so much stuff that I could go into, but I know I've got limited time, so I'll leave it there. I'm open to any questions, but I'll hand over to Anna. And like I said, we've actually worked with Anna, and she is fantastic. So I'll hand over to her.
Thanks very much, David. So I'm Anna Short from Boom Marketing. We very much focus on the strategy and planning side of marketing, and that sounds quite grand and high level. It really isn't, because we're all about making marketing simple. So I bring together 26 years of experience. I work alongside other niche marketing professionals to bring all of those skills together, and take a step back for a business in seeing that big picture around their marketing, making sure it lines up with their business goals so that everything they're doing is working towards meeting their goals. And this is what's becoming apparent across what each of us is saying. All of the work that we are doing is at a strategic level, working towards the core goals of a business, and it's that really stands out in a very significant manner, because just doing the day-to-day tactical stuff is all well and good. It's got to be working towards the overriding goals of the business more than anything. We work with a range of SMEs, from startup to medium size. I do get involved in larger organisations because that's my background, but I like to focus on the smaller businesses. We tend to work with wellbeing professionals, learning and development professionals, professional services, law firms, accountancies, that side of things. And I work a lot with tech businesses as well. They follow me around for some reason. So working with that mixture of businesses comes with a mixture of different challenges. Some of them may just have the business owner that I work directly with. Some of them may have, say, up to around 20 people quite often in the main. And it's normally about them having little or no marketing resource, or they need that strategic guidance to get them focused and consistent with the marketing each month. And sometimes that focus needs to be around bringing in new business. Other times it needs to be around looking after what they've already got and cross-selling and upselling to those customers and supporting that effort through the marketing activities. Other times it's a mixture between the two. So marketing is an always on activity. It is about striking that balance between what you need on the new customer side and what you need by way of looking after the customers that you've already got, and working the marketing accordingly to meet the needs of those customers on an ongoing basis, always keeping them in the know about what you are there for, how you can help them and how you make a difference. And the beauty of us is we flex in line with the needs of the business. If you have got marketing resource, we will fit around that. If you haven't, we will fit around that. It's all in line with what the business needs, and it can be turned on, off, up, down, in line with whatever that business needs at any moment in time.
I think you're spot on there, Anna. It's about creating that flexibility to be able to be there when you need it. The other bit, having worked with Anna and David, is it's all the other key bit that we actually deliver. It's not about when you go to some of the big consultancies that are out there, and that they turn up and they sit on site for a month and then give you a lovely PowerPoint that basically says, repeats back everything that you've said back to them. This is about us, that passion of getting stuck in, sleeves rolled up. On, you know, it's that if I need to go and ring a customer on a client's, a customer's customer on their behalf and close the deal, we'll go and do so. I had one of my customers was trying to land a new opportunity at a factory just a few miles away from my house. They came up from Knowsley and we went and saw the customer together. Actually, you are that customer's representation and you are getting stuck in. It's not about a PowerPoint and there you go, they're the instructions, you go follow, Mr. Customer. It's about making sure we actually deliver results for our clients.
Sorry, if you don't mind me jumping in there. I think the other thing that we're able to provide as a group, just looking at everyone on this, is that ability to almost see the future. Because we worked in so many different businesses, we can also have a good ability to predict what may or may not impact the business in the coming months, years, weeks. Whereas, you know, a lot of the businesses that we work with end up being reactive. Something happens, then, oh no, we've got to react to it. Whereas because you've got this level of expertise, of experience, like the stuff that Nick does with the business modeling and all that kind of everything in that, and the risk planning, if you've prepared for it, then when it happens, it's not such a big deal. You can roll with it. It's much easier to manage as a business, and having that ability to be proactive, because we've experienced most of the things that you're going to come across, is really, really important.
I think that's really important, David. And why wouldn't more the businesses have access to those disciplines and that experience that larger businesses build into their resourcing model through permanent employees? So I think that's a really important.
I'm doing a post about a crystal ball later on.
Yeah.
David says so.
Yeah. But it's something you said, David, about that. It's the equation, I think, between the expertise that a business owner has, or a senior leader in a business. They know their stuff, but actually, what we can add to that with the stuff that we bring, and I think some of those two parts is greater. Is really significant actually, and that's how you can really add value significant to a business just by bringing that experience. So I think that's a great point. Right, I think is that so. I think so that's the end of the examples. I think. Is there anything else, David, Anna, Tony, you would like to offer?
I think this is a great example of why we are part of the Northern Affinity as well. Each of us within our own right specialise within certain areas, and we come together in lots of different ways. And when we work with our clients, when we work with the businesses that we work with, and we can see that they need support in another area, we're able to plug in instantly to people that have got expertise within that area. So we've got the whole functional range throughout the Northern Affinity to be able to support, specifically SMEs in lots of different ways.
I think what I really love about it is that, you know, this fractional model, if I as a business owner was working the traditional way, I would have employed one person that was good at one thing and understood one way of working. For that same amount of money of employing a single person full time, I actually get the expertise of hundreds and hundreds of years and specifically targeted to the areas that I'm weak at, that make my business much, much stronger than had I just employed that one person full time. So if I'd employed a sales manager, then or sales director, what I would have been paying him, I now actually can get marketing, I can get risk analysis, I can get sales director, I can get HR, I can literally get a whole complete business package up and running in no time with massive amount of expertise for the same cost as it would have been to employ one person, which is what I find incredibly exciting about the offerings.
Yeah.
Right, guys, we've had so Russell, one of the attendees, has put his hand up, and I think he wants to ask a question. So I think I can let Russell do that. If you've got a question or a point, Russ.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Give us a nod if you can. Yeah,
Can.
I think the work I do is very similar to the work that you do, Nick, in terms of I've spent a long time in corporate. Mine was largely in the energy industry, my background. And I think one of the reasons that I set my business up was to kind of bring a lot of the experience that kind of sits around the table on the panel today to SMEs, because I think there's almost like a barrier to entry with some of the big corporates. So I've worked with Accenture, PwC, kind of Beringa, all these kind of names that you will have heard long and hard. And actually what the solutions are that these guys put in place are generally common sense and very simple methodologies that are wrapped up in a jargon and a language that are almost there to validate the day rate and the kind of big fees that some of these guys are able to charge. I've kind of sat at the side of some of these guys, and I've been in a position whereby ideas that I'd had as an employee were almost discarded because they were kind of cheap compared to the price that had been paid for some of these very expensive consultancies. And I think that's a big point for me, is that the ideas that we are talking about here are very kind of, I think Tony said something about pace. And that's very important for me. It's about kind of getting to what the client needs and making sure that you're able to enact those things with pace so that they can start delivering, and actually keeping it really, really simple and focused on what we're trying to achieve, rather than wrapping it up in that big price tag, golden handcuffs type thing. It's a very kind of very tactically deployed model, but with a strategic output. And certainly from my point of view, I saw that a lot of SMEs were looking for this type of support, but the barrier to entry was the cost of getting people to do it. And I think the way that we do it, and I kind of speak on behalf of everyone, I think, is that we're kind of very much kind of there to support the SME and its objectives, rather than that golden handcuffs, big contract, long thing. And again, Tony, the point you made about the 30-day contract is very relative, because you've got to, you've actually then in a place where you've got to, prove the pudding, walk the walk, if you want, and be able to demonstrate that you can do what the guys that are contracting with you are actually looking for. So not a question, and a bit rambling, I suppose, but really it's just, I work in the very same way as you guys, and I think it's great that we're able to kind of bring this service to a range of people who probably didn't know it was available to them before.
Yeah, it wasn't rambling at all, Russ. I think I agree with you entirely. It's and some of those companies you talked about, actually, the idea of the person with experience being the point of contact and the person working with the business is really attractive, versus, so that price tag you're talking about from some of those big consultancies includes the partner and the director, and actually the person working on the ground is, and there's nothing wrong with people just out of university, but actually there's a different level of service that those businesses would get if you have someone relatively fresh to this, versus the experience that I think that all of us talking here bring. I think great points.
David said about kind of access to kind of hundreds of years of experience, and that's the thing for me. Price point is a barrier for a lot of small businesses, but actually to tap in that kind of expertise in the way that we're kind of offering it here in the fractional type model it gives people access. I think it gives people access to and they're not limited by their own capabilities. They're then able to look beyond that and then kind of take the business where it needs to be with the support of the people they really need.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you, Russ. We've had a question as well from Adrian in the chat. So, interesting question. I'd love to get people's opinions. So, do you see similar opportunities where an individual can provide fractions of a role and be multidisciplined? And the example used here is the same person could cover, say, marketing and HR. Do we see that?
So I'll have a bash at this one. So one of the bits that we talk about at Sales Geeks is that we've got 6 hats when we join a customer. So we're obviously the sales director. We also do a bit of marketing. We also actually look at the operations of the business and how that is actually making sure that the whole business operations through customer service, etc., all work together to that end. We also, because we're doing the one-to-ones with the sales team, we're actually a bit of an HR director. We do that as part of that, performance reviews, etc., making sure they're heading in the right direction. Product manager, we look at a robust proposition, pricing roadmaps, launch strategies, all of those kind of things. And we also act as a kind of a board member, keeping that customer on track. But there's one thing that we're experts in, and that is sales. We're not experts in HR processes. And also we're not experts in technology or marketing. So there is those bits where we've got knowledge through that piece of experience, but we're not the experts. And I would never say to a client, I can be your marketing director. No, you need to ring Hannah. I understand technology. I've got a great grasp of that. No, you need to talk to David. So it's about we bring some expertise and some knowledge, but I don't think we can deliver that depth to what some of those customers need. So
I would absolutely second that. I mean, a little bit of knowledge is dangerous, as they say. And although I've done a lot of roles in my life, and obviously as a business over a number of years, I've had to wear a number of different hats. But what I'm good at is technology. That's where my experience is. That's where my expertise is. And I think this fractional model is, yes, we are there to support the business, and whatever the business needs is what we'll support. But I'll be very straight and clear up front and say, like Tony's just said, sales is not my bag. Technology is my bag. I can look at your whole piece, and there are multiple hats within that. So we look at third-party contractors. Are you getting value for money? Have you got all the IT policies in place? Have you got procedures in place? Have you got systems in place? Have you got the right systems integrated? So there's multiple hats within that. But would I venture out of that? I mean, I can give some ad hoc advice, but not to the depth of the stuff that Nick would do. Yes, I've run businesses. I understand what it takes to run a business, but that's not what my expertise or passion is. And I think that the value in what we bring is that passion and that expertise, that real depth of knowledge and understanding of our respective areas.
Yeah, and it's that rounded approach that we're able to provide whilst having our areas of focus as well. And we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now had it not been for all of that background experience and those corporate worlds that we've all worked within. And it's because we've been exposed to that and the mass change that has come about over the years as a result of that, that we are those rounded individuals that are able to understand the different functions within a business. I do a lot around the sales side, the business development side, working with young people, which would fall into the HR side of things. So we do have that overlap constantly going on, which we're equipped to recognise and deal with that.
So everything you guys have said, I agree. The specialism, the true specialism, should sit with the specialist. I think there is, and actually the example of my work with the Multi Academy Trust at the moment, there is a generalist bit in the middle there actually, and I think Russ might have left the call, but I suspect he finds something similar. There are some kind of general disciplines that I am supporting the trust with that go up, spoke to specialism a little bit, HR particularly. But the minute something gets deeper into sales, marketing, technology, I'm calling you guys. I'm not going to try and make a mess of that. I'm not going to pretend. I know my limits, I think, was David's earlier. But I think there is, but for smaller business, there is an opportunity for people who wear multiple hats in the middle to really add value. But taking the specialist point as well.
Absolutely, so great points. Lauren, do we have any more questions? I know you've got the Q&A box there.
Yeah, I've got a couple that I can pop out to you guys. So I guess first of all, can ask, is the fractional model, is this only for small businesses? So only benefit small businesses, or can it benefit to larger ones as well?
Question.
Well, do you want me to answer that? I think it works for, it depends on the role. So what we find from a sales director point of view is that companies get to a size where once you get to, I don't know, the 20 million turnover, you've probably got your own sales director and your own person that you become big enough to hire your own, yeah, and you don't actually, you can take that risk of that. You can invest in that role more wholeheartedly. What we then kind of do is we actually go and become the sales trainer for those organizations. So if we've done a good job building them up, we end up being there training their staff to make sure that they continue that growth pattern. So actually we end up moving our clients from a part-time sales director service to a training type service.
And I guess I'm following on from that. This one will be for you as well then, Tony. How kind of the typical contract terms be for like a fractional sales director? So
yeah, so our contract term is 30 days. So basically, if we're not there and if we're not delivering, we're out the door. I don't know whether Anna and David follow a similar model, but it's kind of like it keeps us honest, keeps its track, and also it doesn't mean that we're kind of drip feeding bits throughout the life of the contract. We've actually got to deliver benefit really quickly to the client.
Yeah, absolutely. We do follow that same model, so we're on 30-day term as well, and it is really important because not only it keeps us on our toes and constantly delivering, but it's important to keep. I think Nick mentioned pace before. And it's really important to hit the ground running and have that pace for businesses, because the reason they're buying in this expertise is because they want to change something about their business. They want to improve something about their business. So it's important for us to deliver that as quickly as possible.
So guys, we have another Tony who's got a question as well. So Tony, I'm going to bring you in if that's all right.
Yes. So I also think it's really critical to sometimes be someone that a business owner or founder can talk to. So I'm currently supporting a business, and the founder wants to grow the business quickly, and he can't really talk to his leadership team because it impacts them. He doesn't really want to talk to his wife because she goes, "Oh, we just do it like this," and sort of doesn't always. He just and his mates down the pub go, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that," and he sits down on a Monday morning and goes, "Well, how the hell would I do that with the people I've got?" Sometimes it's just being able to speak to someone who's been in difficult times and taken businesses through change, just for them to discuss it and come up with a rounded proposition before he shares it with the whole team. So I think the fractional model can provide that as well. And again, that's a cost-effective way of doing it. That people are very isolated sometimes when they run their own business. So I think, but I fully support what you're saying.
I think just feeding on from that, Tony, I think absolutely it's good to have that external view of the world, that the unimpassioned kind of agnostic view of your business that you can just discuss things with. I think that is really important.
I agree. I think it's a great point. I think it's that's always offering that sounding board, something just to someone who has enough experience and is confident enough to challenge and present a different point of view, rather than someone who's it's in their interest just to say yes all the time. Actually, so, but I think that and that can only come with people who have, as you said, been through some of those things before or seen some challenging situations. So I think it's a great point. It's a big benefit I think the fractional model can bring to businesses.
Yeah, and I think quite often people like us will have been through those situations and will have seen it from both sides as well, from the leadership team's point of view as well as the business owner's point of view, in a way that you can put mechanisms in place to manage those relationships as effectively and as positively as possible, to take them on that journey with you, whether it's to their advantage, to their benefit or not. You can manage people really well regardless of what the outcome is, and have them on that journey with you, which is so important.
I think just the other point that I would make, feeding on from what you said, Tony, is a lot of the times that the business owners will get advice. This is what you should do. You should put all of these things in place. And then, as you say, they then sit there on Monday morning scratching their head saying, well, okay, but how do I do that? And I think that, again, one of the things that the fractional services brings is that not just what you need to change, but actually we can show you how to change it. We can help you implement the things that will make these changes and help your business grow, not just tell you what you should do. And I think, again, that's a really important thing, so that you as a business owner and business are supported through that kind of change or transition, whatever it might be, with a really clear guidance and like I said, support as well.
Absolutely, thank you. Great points there, guys. So I think I don't see any more questions, but before we finish, I just want to, as we started with the poll actually, and it's just a little, I guess, slight change on the first poll. So the first poll was very much, where have you seen it work before? But based on the discussion, based on what you've heard, this poll is more about where do you think it could work, in what areas. So I'm going to launch the poll now and just be interested to see everybody's reaction. So again, you can choose as many different options as you wish. So what services, what roles do you think the fractional model could work?
It's only letting us choose one.
Or is it only letting you choose one?
Yeah.
Oh,
never mind.
This is Zoom playing its funny business with it.
Never mind.
Choose your favourite then. Choose your favourite.
All right, we'll choose a favourite. Sales, everyone. Sales.
Oh, and everyone's going for sales now, Tony.
when really what they mean is technology, but
it's not quite as exciting, is it? So that's why.
Sorry. Brilliant.
Right then, guys. Well, thank you so much for today. I mean, has anyone got any final points before we wrap up? Like I mentioned earlier, we will put this onto our YouTube channel and make it available for everyone to view and to watch back. And obviously, if you've got anyone that you think could benefit from watching it, please pass on. All the contact details of the guys who've been on the call as well. You can kind of come through us to ask for them if you want to find out more. But anyone got any final points? Any of the panelists?
No, it's been brilliant. Thank you.
I've enjoyed it. I think it's reinforced my view that the fractional model is the future, actually. Just hearing some of the detailed examples you guys have talked through, and some great comments from attendees as well. So, yeah, really good. Thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. Obviously, thank you to all you guys for your little bits and talking about the things you're doing. And thank you, everyone, for attending. And like I said, we'll make this available. And if you want to watch back, we'll be able to do so. So thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, everyone.